Hey, this is Reverend the Bug back with another Magic the Gathering thing. I'm going to just be restarting my entire little series. If you're wondering why I've got the mask on, I've decided I don't want to have my face visible, at least for right now, because why not? So, I'm going to basically be going over, like, hey, what are the basics you need to get into Magic the Gathering, depending on the format, some stuff that I've got, and what I would recommend. Anyways, on to the main video. Alright, so, because I don't have a proper camera setup, I'm just using my phone, and, it's going to be one-handed until I can figure something out that won't make it so like there's nothing off to the side, because I've tried a few things already. Anyways, so to start off, here's my mat. These are not really necessary. I just bought this one because at the time this was the only one that they had. Now, first thing you're going to want is a deck. Now, mine's in sleeves because I didn't want to do that. Your deck's going to have everything from like your lands to your creatures and all sorts of other spells that you need, like Dark Ritual, in case of this one, Blood Researcher as well. You're also going to want to know what colors you want to play, because the colors tend to have different ways that they work together. Playing green-black, so they've got different strategies going on there. This deck in particular is a life gain and a drain deck, but yeah, I think vampirism, basically. But pretty much the only things you really need, bare bones, is just a deck and cards. If you want, and maybe sleeves, because some people can kind of be sticklers about that. So I'd say, like, if you're gonna, depending on the format, let's say you want to get into playing like standard, like a 60 card deck, get some sleeves and a cheap box. There you go. Your stuff's all set up. You're ready to go. If you want to get a bit into more stuff, that's kind of where tokens come in. There are cards in this deck that'll create these little guys, which they have little effects that kind of blend with all of that. This is right in front of my TV. So anyways, there's different things you can use. You can use these, which got little ads on the back. But yeah, those are the tokens I use for this deck. Or you can go for one of these. You can basically use these in anything. They're basically like little whiteboards that you can just write on infinitely. I did not grab a marker, so I can't really show that effect without damaging them, because I've got a Sharpie up there, but that's not dry erase. Anyways, no. These are pretty good if you don't want to have just a bunch of standard tokens on your desk or in your boxes, essentially, because they'll take up space. They take it up really quick. So just, I don't know, maybe having one of these, and maybe dice. Dice are really handy in this, actually. I'll get to dice in a minute, but like bare bones, you don't really need tokens. You can just get something else to kind of stand in for them if you absolutely need it to. You got these, so yeah, if you want to go for those instead. It doesn't really matter what brand. Again, those are like the only ones that were available when I bought them, so that's why I've got them. Another thing that could be a recommendation is one of these. This is just a life pad. Sure, it's a bit dinged up, and frankly I haven't filled it out yet, but long term, it's not a bad investment, because people are probably going to want to be able to go backtrack, look at how life totals were changed in order to figure out if something like an accident happened. Like, let's say I misdid the math. I was supposed to only deal like 5 damage, but I accidentally dealt like 6. We're going to want to try and figure out, okay, wait, no, how did that happen? And backtrack, say, okay, no, I went from like 30 down to like 28 from this. Then you went down from like 17 to 15. These can be used to kind of help track that. Again, not a necessary thing, but it's peace of mind for some people. Next up, I'll just get into it. Mats. If you're just going to be playing with like bare cards, which got those right there, actually. If you're going to just be playing with bare cards, not a bad idea to have them, just so that way your cards will kind of stay nice. At least if you're not going to play with sleeves. But also, it just makes cleanup a little bit easier than getting them off the table. Because, let's say I've got all those on the field right now. Sort those out. That here, that there. Let's say I've done all of this. I lose. Just makes it easier to scoop everything all up. Makes it easier, clean it up. Besides, you kind of get to show off, like, hey, I like this art the most. Or again, this case, it's all that they had. And it's clearly well used. So, played a lot of games with this thing. All right, next up, let's move on to dice. So you can use standard dice like you would get for like a D&D, like D20, D6, D8, D12, all those. But Magic the Gathering's got its own type of dice, which are basically just D20, but they're called spin downs. They go from 20 down to 19 to 18 to 17 to 16 and all the way down to 1. Here's to show a few. You can get them from stuff like pre-release kits and or bundles, which, yeah, I've got a few on a shelf. I'm not going to grab them currently, but we can get into that at a later date. But yeah, no, the D20s, you can use these to stand in as tokens. Like, okay, you've got, like, let's say 3 of these and you need to, yeah, when it dies, you can just tick that down to 2. That'll count it for you. Easy way to help you remember, keep track of your stuff. Just gotta make sure you don't bump the dice, because that is a little hazard that can happen with them. So, the format that this deck is for Commander. It's a 100 card format, which I'll get into at a later date. But let's say you're just sticking with 60 cards. I would suggest you find a color combination that you really like, because depending on, like, even then it's going to take a while to figure that out. So I'd say just kind of throw yourself at it until you kind of figure out what colors you think mesh with you, what you want to play most. I mostly play stuff like green-black or green-blue, which I'll actually get into the color combination names at a later date. Anyways, this has been Raven. Thank you for watching.